Welcome to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. My name is Jackson Mummy, and each week we'll be bringing you updated information about the bar exam and what you need to do in order to make the next bar exam your last bar exam. Ready to get started? Let's jump to it. Hi, everybody. Welcome. It is Wednesday, June 7th. We are now in the, I think about 50-day window to the July 2023 bar exam. And I'm joined today with June is here, and Amanda is here, and Tracy is here, ready to roll. We're going to take some student questions today, answer those for you. Tracy is going to talk about mind mapping. Am I correct about that, Tracy?
Yes, a little different type of mind mapping, but yes.
Okay. All right. This will be interesting after your discussion of wiper blades last week. And we're going to give you some updates on things that are going on and new products and offerings and things that we can do to help you get ready for the bar exam. Good to see you, buddy.
Hi, Jackson. Hi, June. How you guys doing?
Good. I like to describe you as our secret weapon, Babka, because you do these fabulous calls, and I don't think enough of our students have jumped on those calls yet to figure out just how wonderful it is and how much insight and wisdom that you have. And I know you're busy with your practice. You're an immigration lawyer, and this is usually your court day, so I feel very pleased that we've got you here today. But maybe you could just share with our audience a little bit about what you try to do in your group coaching calls, because I know each of our coaches have their own lanes, the things they like to focus on.
I would say, number one, they are missing out. It was a great call. But I think it's more of just, like Nike says, just do it, because if you want it, then you have to do it. And your commitment level has to be there, and then that consistency. So every Sunday, I think for me, at least, I look at it more like a research thesis. And then I'm like, hey, I give a real life example. If this guy could do it, then what about you? And then I always use myself like a point of reference. I took the bar exam 6 times. 2 of those was with CBR and I passed. So if I can take it 6 times and pass, you definitely can. I'm not Tom Cruise to have done it like Mission Impossible. So
that's one thing I like to tell, like when I'm talking about you to students, is especially if they're foreign trained, because coming from another country and taking the US bar is a whole new world, and you should get kudos just for even trying that. We have quite a few students that are foreign trained attorneys that are coming, and I always tell them to join your call because I think you are able to offer a really good viewpoint around all of that, because it is very different than being a US citizen and taking the bar. It's completely different, especially if you were already barred in your country that you're from. It's so different. So I think you have a lot of empathy towards what they are going through with that, and it is not easy. And then also, like you said, it took you a few times, and so you understand that struggle and getting up and rising above that mindset of not feeling defeated. And so again, you guys, I love all of our coaches, but Bobka's got a special place in my heart. So if you are foreign trained, if you need a light of sunshine, if you need just a little bit of how do I do this, be sure to join his call on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are Sunday calls. And Bob, we're glad to have you on the call with us today. I'll jump in and get your take on some of the questions we've got from students. I do have a couple of updates on things that we're doing in the course, and I wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of those. The first thing I wanted to let you know about is that we released last week a brand new 2-session training called the Performance Test Workshop with our very own Amanda. Yay! And I know you started doing those workshops. It got a lot of activity right away, didn't it?
It was great. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'd like you to just take a minute and explain what it is you're doing in these workshops so that people have an idea. But tell us a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. So we started with the MPT workshop. It's a 2-session workshop. The first session, we take a deep dive into organization and timing around the MPT, but also I spend time getting to know you. Like, what do you perceive your strengths are? What do you perceive your areas of improvement are around multi-state performance tests? And then I try to focus that feedback, right? Or maybe what you scored on MPT, what you're struggling with, into me going over in detail the strategies around MPT test taking. And then I'll give you an MPT to actually do that in our second session we can go over. So you'd hand that in before the second session, and I'll be able to give you feedback. You can discuss with me what you found difficult, so you can get actual personal one-on-one discussion about that. And I know some people are pairing that also with Brianna's writing workshop. Right?
Yeah, and we've created, my business manager is not happy with me about this. It would normally be $300 for the performance test workshop and $300 for the writing workshop. In a moment of insanity, I said, well, if you buy them together at the same time, it should be $450. And yeah, I got yelled at. But anyway, for a short period of time, because I will eventually have to raise the price, you can order the bundle for $450. It's 2 calls with Brianna on essay writing, 2 calls with Amanda on the performance test. And we record these, we do them in our new AI called Fireflies, and you get a summary, a transcript, a video. It's fabulous. And it's a great resource to go back and look at and work with this. Amanda did incredibly well on performance tests, although I think she would tell you she was not a fan of the performance test when she was starting out, but obviously did really well. And so I think you'll appreciate her approach to this. Brianna, of course, is enormously talented with essay writing, and she does a fabulous job there. So I would really encourage you to check that out. The workshop is really terrific. Check it out. You just get to jump in and schedule that. And as soon as you order, you can schedule with Amanda and you can schedule with Brianna. You don't have to do anything on those first calls. They're just teaching you up. Really excited about that. One other thing I'm going to just tease out to everybody, though it's not available today. Yeah. Okay. Great. Thanks. So I want to just tease out that in a couple of weeks' time, we are going to add a third workshop for the Multistate. And Amanda's going to be our coach for that as well. We've got this pretty well set up. I'm going to wait a couple more weeks because in my view, it's just a little bit early to open that up, but that's going to be first come, first served as well. So you want to jump in and get these scheduled as fast as you can. We've tried to make them affordable for you, and I think it's a great way to do a deeper dive. So watch for the announcement about the Multistate workshop. Now you've got the performance test workshop and the essay writing workshop. There's also a time management workshop. June does a grouping called Calming the Chaos. There's lots of things that we offer that can be helpful to you. So want to make everybody aware of that. Along the same lines, I'm really excited to announce that we have finalized the dates for our next boot camp. It'll be November 3rd and 4th here in the Denver area. And as before, Tracy and June will be joining me. We're going to limit the number of students in the boot camp to 15. You should go ahead. If you're taking the exam in 2024, you should really be looking at doing boot camp. You can pay for it over 8 months. So you have the ability to start paying and get it all paid off by the time you get here in November. And it's a terrific opportunity to not only learn photo reading, but how you apply photo reading to essay writing, performance tests, and the MBE. It's also where you're going to learn about mind mapping. You're going to have mindset coaching. You're going to have essay writing instruction from Tracy. And it's all done in small group settings. We work in groups of 5 in these small groups. And it's just a terrific experience. I see a couple of people on the call today who are at our May boot camp, and I think they would tell you that it was well worth it. If you are not a photo reader, we will include the photo reading course in your tuition. If you are a photo reader, we're going to credit your photo reading tuition against the boot camp tuition. And so it really works out. It's a terrific deal. And we have lots of fun, and there's few surprises. Some folks got some free coaching that they weren't expecting to get. And we had guest speakers, and there's a lot that goes on. It is really the way to supercharge your study. And the people that come to boot camp tend to be the people that pass the bar. The way that you do this is that you apply, there's a $100 refundable deposit, or it can be applied to your tuition. We want to know why you want to be there, and we're pretty selective about who we take. So I would encourage you to jump in now and save your seat. Again, it's November 3rd and 4th here in Denver. That's still, Tracy tells me that's still early enough in November that we won't have a 20-inch snowstorm. Is that true?
Almost every year except the ones that we do.
So there you go. Crazy stuff. Anyway, I'm really excited about boot camp. I hope everybody will consider joining us. Then one last announcement before we jump into the student questions. We've been talking about Paraliminal recordings as a tool that you could be using, and we got some great feedback from students who are trying a brand new application. It's called MindTrax, MINDTRX.com. It's put out by Learning Strategies, and it includes their entire library of 75 Paraliminals, plus I think 5 or 6 full-length training sessions that Dr. Paul Sheely has done, plus all kinds of special stuff that they do. Now, normally when we sell Paraliminals, we sold a group of 15 or 16 of those recordings for $300, and that was a real bargain because they normally sell for $30 to $40 a recording. But what they've done with MindTrax is that it's now available for $99 a year, and it's the entire library. And I just think it's fabulous. I really got to say, for $99, everybody should be using this thing. You just want to let us know if you're on it so that we can follow up and make sure that everything's working for you. But I love this app. It's just super easy to use. Everything is there. You don't have to download anything. It's a fabulous tool. What Paraliminals do, for those of you that are not aware, is that they give you the ability to hear 2 soundtracks, one in each ear, that are different. And it really lets your conscious brain and your non-conscious brain focus on different things. And so when there are blocks like focus or concentration or confidence or sleep or energy, whatever it might be, you just put on this Paraliminal recording. It's about 20 minutes in length, different ones. Close your eyes, sit back, lie down on the bed if you want. You probably fall asleep if you lie down on the bed, and that's just fine because it works on you. You don't have to do anything. And it's the lazy person's way around meditation, we'll put it that way, with incredible results. So really encourage the Paraliminals.
One thing I will say is that a lot of my students in group coaching have used them, and I just receive really good feedback. And it just goes to show too that there's not all one way to do the bar exam. Like, I wasn't a photo reader, but so many people were photo readers and our alums were photo readers. Yeah. But I've received really good feedback from the students who have used Paraliminals.
Yeah. Bobka, did you use Paraliminals?
I think I used the Paraliminals, and I think the feedback, especially the Paraliminals, they were good because I think when I got to a certain point where I was done with studying, done with the practice and all of that, and then every time I try to study, my brain is just pushing back. And then I just wear my headphones and then I'm sitting, and then it was like, it would calm the Jesus out of me, if I can put it that way. Put me in that state of mind that it's like, hey, you're bigger than this exam. This exam got nothing on you. And then it's, now I feel like I'm in the sky. And then I go in and then I'm like, just do it, like Nike says. So the Paraliminals were good. I would say definitely worth a try.
Yeah, I think so. I really like them. I'm a big fan. So check that out. It's MindTrax, MINDTRX.com. And then let us know after you've registered and what your experience is. All exciting stuff. I'm going to jump into some student questions. We don't have a lot this week, which is actually good because what it tells me is everybody's working. And they seem to be doing what they need to be doing. June said to me that on her group calls, she's getting a lot of questions about what do I do next when we hit this 50-day period? And I thought this was a good opening question for us to talk about. And I'll throw it out to our coaches as well in a minute. But let me start by just saying logistically, you don't have to really think a whole lot about that. You just go to the next assignment in your course and the next, and you follow each one for timing. And then you should be getting a weekly email from me. If you're taking the July 2023 exam and you're in our course, you're getting a weekly email right now. And when we get to 30 days out, you'll get a daily email. And in each of those emails, I'm basically telling you what I'd like you to be doing, giving you some focus or some particular approach or information. So I don't want you stressing out over what do I do next. You just follow the course. That's my primary interest. Amanda, do you want to add to that? When people say, what should I be doing at this point? What should they be doing?
Yeah, I also think in my group coaching calls, the exam is becoming increasingly real and people feel like it's already here. And they're wondering, okay, what do I do now? Just like June is observing. And it sounds like super unfulfilling because again, people want like the answer, this magic thing that's going to happen, but you just follow along with the course. So slow and steady, uninterrupted studying. I would also say continue to get that rest, even though you feel like the exam is really close. We're still a long way out. There is plenty of time for you to get burnt out and sick and tired, right? So continue to exercise, get sleep, observe, as everyone's saying, when your mind just gets tired from studying and you need to do paraliminals or you need to just look at or work on your mind maps. So pay close attention to that because you don't want to get to 15 days to go. You're sick, you're burnt out, you're tired. So like slow and steady here wins the race and like, continue with the tasks at hand.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. Bobco, when somebody's at this 50-day window, I know that there's a tendency, as Amanda said, to feel like the exam is here, but it's really not, is it?
No, it isn't. And the good thing is there is always time. But what are you going to do with that time is what matters most, because I always tell them it's like slow and steady wins the race. And I use the analogy of a car. When you get into your car, you don't just zoom off. You have to go on 5-10 miles an hour before you do 200 miles an hour. And I always say the study guide is the holy grail. You want to pass, you have to follow the study guide. There's no two ways about it, because if you try and hopscotch, oh, today I'm going to do con law, tomorrow I do thoughts, you're indirectly setting yourself up for chaos. And we don't want that. We don't teach chaos. And I also insist on self-care, because the habits we develop now is what we take when we become attorneys. And I always say, if your mindset is chaotic at this moment in time, would you as a client hire you as a lawyer? And if your answer is no, then you have to sit up. And that is my perspective. So when they say, what should I do? Stick with the study guide, practice a lot of self-care, because it's a long game and you don't want to burn out towards the end when you can preserve that energy and work methodically towards your goal.
Yeah, Tracy, I know you talk a lot about self-care as well. 50 some days of intense studying, students come to us and they say, I'm going to spend 12 hours a day studying. That's not what we want them to do, right?
No, this is not the time to pull an all-nighter for 50 days straight, because you will burn yourself out, as Amanda said. Look, if you're freaking out because it's 50 days, then take a half hour, take a calendar, a paper calendar, and map it out for yourself. Map out what you need to do to get through the substantive materials. Map out your review time, map out your writing time, your practice test time. And you'll see, if you do that, if you break it down into little segments, that 50 days is plenty of time. It really is.
Yeah, and I would say if you want even more help, Brianna does a time management workshop, and she will literally create that Excel spreadsheet for you and show you day by day what you need to do. I think those are all different ways of answering that question. Basically, it's way too early to panic. It's just way too early. And I know that there's this sense of the bar exam must be here now. It isn't. Believe me, when you get an email from me every single day for those last 30 days, you're going to feel like it's an eternity. And we're not even there yet. So just give yourself a little bit of space to do that. We got a couple of questions around the Georgia bar exam, interestingly enough. One student wrote, or someone that's just coming to the course said, I've taken the Georgia bar more than 10 times. I just can't seem to pass it. What do you suggest to be successful? That's the ultimate question, isn't it? What does it take to pass? I'm going to start, and then I'll throw it to Bobka, because I know you've spent some time in Georgia. But the first thing I would say is, if you've taken an exam 10 times and you haven't been successful, you have to do things differently. And that would mean if you've been in the big box bar review, you look at a course like ours that teaches through repetition rather than memorization. If you've been in our course and you haven't been successful, not 10 times, but if you haven't been successful, I think you've got to start looking at the additional tools that we offer. This particular individual was looking at our basic course, and the basic success course is filled with all the material that you need. It's all the outlines and the lectures and the practice questions, but it doesn't give you the deeper dive for things like the performance tests or essay writing. It's not the course where we give you individual essay coaching. Those are upgrades that you need to add. It doesn't include photo reading or the Paraliminals. These are all tools that we provide that I think not everybody needs, but if you've taken an exam 10 times without success, look, don't cheap your way through this. Give yourself the chance to be successful by using the tools that we've got that we know make a difference. And then I think ultimately you just want to be smart about how you're going at the exam. And I want to throw this over to you, Bob, because I know you switched jurisdictions, you made some significant changes. You weren't successful the first time with us, but the second time you were, and it's because you made some changes. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when I failed the first time with 8 points, I didn't even want to think about the bar exam anymore. But I think I had upgraded my course, and the upgraded version of what I did was a significant step from what I had initially. And then, of course, those extra resources now was the difference between me passing and me failing. And at the same time, if this is what you want to be an attorney, you will have to spare no resource, because trust me, when you become an attorney, some people say the sky is your limit. The sky is actually your starting point. And
yeah.
The opportunities are endless, and you have to be methodical, because if you have the writing workshop with Brianna and then you have Amanda as well with the PTs, it gives you that personalized attention. And then this is what you're not trying to be the top student to pass the bar. You're trying to pass the bar. That's all you need. And when you have those personalized experiences, all of us, we are CVR alums, we are attorneys too, practicing attorneys. And when you have that from a practicing attorney who has taken the program as well, it gives you that extra sense of confidence. These guys, they have taken the program, they are literally giving me the blueprint to succeed. But the basic course is not going to give you that much of personalized attention as you need to pass.
Yeah, it's not designed for that purpose. And I think when you're a 10-time taker, let's just be honest here, after 10 tries, you got to figure out that something's got to change here. And you may think, well, these guys are just trying to sell me more stuff. No, we've got a whole lot of tools here, and you might be in a position to use them. June, I think this is something probably that you want to weigh in on as well.
Well, I just wanted to say I 100% agree. And this is coming from my own experience quite recently, but I talked to a student a couple of weeks ago and they were like, oh, I write great essays. It's not my problem. How do you know that? Has anybody ever gave you feedback on an essay you've written? And the reason why that comes to mind is I have been doing something in my own life and thought I am amazing at this, only to take a class and realize I've been doing it quite wrong. And this is why I struggled with it. In other words, I was able to get the final outcome, but it was always a struggle. Now that I've gone through this class and seen this, it's no longer a struggle. And I am happier doing what I'm doing. And so that's why I got in on the essay thing is, if you write great essays, great, get some feedback, take a work, just get that feedback, because you might find out there's a couple things that you could do a little bit differently that you no longer have to struggle.
I think it's great. I think this is all great advice. Amanda, do you want to add anything to this?
Again, I would echo that Bobka's calls to get on them, because I love hearing what you have to say. And a lot of the students that come to both of our calls say the same thing. So this is like real great nuggets. I hope people are really paying attention to this.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I think it's just really important to understand the bar exam today is incredibly difficult. I don't care where you're sitting for it. Georgia, Florida, California, the UB, it's all tough. You cannot get through this exam as a repeat bar taker, in my opinion, by trying to do it on the cheap. It just doesn't work. There are a lot of cheap solutions out there that don't work very well. And so what we've tried to do is give you an affordable opportunity to get the tools you need, the help you need. Virtually all of the course materials are available for a 12-month payment plan. Even the boot camp has got a payment plan. So there's a lot of opportunity there to budget your spending and be able to get the things that you need. And if you're not sure which of the tools, because I recognize we offer a lot, reach out to us. Send a note to June or to me, and we'll talk you through what we think would be most helpful to you. The goal is to help you pass. It's not to sell you more stuff. I don't need to sell you more stuff. But I think that when you look at the range of tools, it's important to figure it out. So just as I think about it, as we come into this 50-day window, there are a couple of tools. If you're not photo reading, I think you should be. There's still enough time to learn how to photo read. I think the Paraliminals are a great tool, but we also offer the BarMaps product, which is a great way to get a head start on mind mapping for the state and the multi-state, as well as giving you a deeper dive in the lectures and a fast finish on the audios. It's a terrific tool. Near the end of your studies, we've got something called the MBE nutshell videos. This is where we've condensed down an entire outline of the MBE to a video that runs 20 minutes or less. Pretty amazing. It's a great resource at that stage of your study. If you are struggling, as we've been saying today, with performance tests or essay writing, a good place to start are these 2-session workshops, and then to look at upgrading to coaching. Now, one of the things we did with coaching this year is that we made all of our coaches available to assist in all the jurisdictions. So you can choose to work with me or Amanda or Brianna or Tracy across any of our jurisdictions. And it's a terrific opportunity to get that kind of feedback that June was talking about. If you're having trouble passing the bar, it's worthwhile, I think, to get the individual coaching. That's why we're here, and we're all good at it. We're all experts at it. And I think it was Amanda that was talking to me about what some of the big box bar reviews do for coaching. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, we've been really thinking strategically here, and Jackson leading the way about how we offer something that's actually going to help. So how we do the 2 workshops for whether it's writing or whether it's MPT, and how Jackson is telling you, if you don't know what you think you might benefit most from and your funds are limited, ask us, and we will tell you, because we can see how you're doing in the course and we can actually talk to you. And we know you all because you're here on our coaching calls, which is something no other big box review offers. A lot of other courses, if you just Google, I won't mention any names, just Google tutoring. You could just sign up for a half-an-hour tutoring session for $200 for a tutor that doesn't know you, and they don't know where you are in your bar study. You don't even have to be a part of their course to just sign up for random tutoring. So really, how far is that money going to go? I'm not saying that those sessions aren't helpful at all, right? But we're really trying to make this here so that it's personalized to you and you actually get something through one-on-one coaching. It's not just, oh, I sign up for a few packages about someone who doesn't know me. And that's also the reason why we insist on a certain number of packages, right? So if you're doing a workshop, we have vetted this workshop. We've talked about this workshop. We know exactly what we're doing with this workshop. If we're saying 8 or 10 coaching calls with a coach, it's because we know that that's like the sweet spot. That's what is going to get you over that passing mark, not just, oh, however many sessions you feel is good. Like you could sign up at other big box bar review courses for 2 or 3 sessions that may or may not work. So I could be biased, but yeah, I don't really think it is just about getting you to sign up for all the things, but providing you enough variety of things, tools here, both free and pay for, that are going to get you across that line.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Tracy, you and I were talking about what Amanda was just referring to, which is that in the process of doing those 10 coaching calls, that there is a ramping up of understanding where the student is and what their needs are, and just establishing that rapport. And it takes a bit of time to do that, right?
Yes, it does. And with 10 coaching calls or 8 with you, you have time to do that. So they're not wasted the first half hour or so to really get to understand what you need as a student and how we can help you as a coach. That's just very good time. The bar exam is an art form, and it has its own language and it has its own rhythm. And it's unlike anything you did in law school. And it's unlike anything you will do in legal practice, except for the writing part, which if you learn how to write well in this bar review class, you're going to be miles ahead when you come in front of me with a pleading and want me to pay attention to what you have to say. But if you write a pleading for a criminal case, that is a different language than when you write it for a domestic relations case or for a bankruptcy petition. It's very important that you learn the language of the bar exam. And that's why it's so critical to either get coaching or to get into some of these workshops so that you can learn the language. Once you learn the language, you're halfway there to being able to write and to take the multi-state questions in much better form and much less stress on you.
A related question that we got this week from a student said, I'm a repeater, maybe I'm not getting the updates. And I was like, yeah, the way that we do our courses, everybody's got access to all of the same material. It's not a question of you got a static course and now there's updates. The course is constantly dynamic and constantly changing. So if you're a repeat taker or a first-time taker, you're getting exactly the same materials. And I wanted to make that point because when people are repeating the exam, it's not that we have you doing the same material because so much of it is changing. So for example, just this week, we added the February 2023 essays for the UBE and the performance tests for the UBE and for Georgia into our materials. So you just want to check out your update center in your online course and you'll see all of those. And we've got the drafter point sheets. And then we've got the essays for Florida and California. I think Georgia's coming along now soon. And we're writing model answers to those. Our editors are working on those. And so all of that material is constantly being updated. And really, it's not a question of we send you something different like a package because it's an online course. So I want to encourage all of you to make sure you get in, check out those update centers and see the new materials that are there. We're constantly adding and updating to our course materials. We got a really interesting question this week. I wanted to throw it out to our panel because I thought that this was a really thoughtful question. It was about essay writing. And the student said, when I'm writing an essay, there's a temptation to put down everything I know about the subject in addition to answering the targeted call to the question. And what might influence this temptation is the pressure to write, and they said 1,000 to 1,200 words per essay. You don't need, so I'll start with, for the UBE, you do not need that many words. But in any event, they said, what advice do you have to alleviate this temptation? Let me offer my answer, and then I'll throw it out to all of you. I like to think about essays as being like target practice. At the bullseye, in the center of the target, are the primary disputes, the things that are in dispute. That's the call of the question. You got to cover that for sure. And too often I find people don't give enough attention to that. The next ring out of that, or bigger ring, is what I would think of as the peripheral. They might be their lagniappe. They're a little bit extra. They're not just the call of the question, but maybe some things that are suggested by the call of the question. And you may want to write about those. Don't have to, but you may want to. And then the third ring of the target is the issue spotting. And this is just wasted verbiage. If you start writing about issues that are not in dispute and they're not really even tangentially related to the question, you're going to get basically no points for it. And that's where the word wasting comes in. So this particular student, who was a UBE student, has somehow put in their head they've got to write 1,000 to 1,200 words. For a half-hour essay, you do not need to do that. I'll say again, 750 typewritten words on the UBE passes. You can be very successful with that. If you go up to 1,000, okay, but it's hard to hit 1,000 words in 30 minutes. Now, if you're in Georgia, it's a 45-minute essay, and I think we could probably look at about 900 words. If you're in Florida or California with 1-hour essays, now we're starting to get into the 1,100, 1,200 words, but we're still never out in the issue spotting part of the target. So I wanted to set that up. The question of the pressure and the temptation to write a lot or write everything you know about a subject. What would you say about that, Tracy? You've been working a lot on essay writing with our students.
I'm again going to put the image into your heads of being in a courtroom. When you come in a courtroom before me, I don't want to know everything about the law of torts. I don't want to know things that are not in dispute. You have to assume that I know those things. What I want to know is, why are you taking time in my courtroom? What is the dispute? Why are you here? And what is the law that I do need to pay attention to understand your argument and also your opponent's argument? The best argument you can make is also to give credence to your opponent's point of view. So when you're writing these essays, it's very important that you stick to the point. And you look at the question, what are they asking you about? Are they asking you about a piece of evidence, or are they asking you about a procedural question? Are they asking you about claims and defenses, or are they asking you about some kind of other practice form? And then go and figure out why are these people in a courtroom?
Yeah, I think that dispute focus is really important. Bobka, I know that when you and I worked, when we were coaching, we learned in how to get you to focus in on disputes rather than issues. That was a change in your thought process, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, and I think it was one of the reasons why I passed as well, because it was like, you don't volunteer information that is not being asked, because number one, you waste time, and then the last question suffers. And then all of a sudden now the last question now has less time, and then it's like you lost time already at the outset volunteering information you're not supposed to give. So that desire is, hey, if they ask you what color is the sky, blue, leave it at that. Don't say, you know what, there's a little bit of a no, they don't want that. They already know, like Tracy said, she already knows that there's a possibility that the sky is not going to be blue. Don't volunteer information, you waste time, and then the last question now, you're running over because you don't have enough time. And when you do that, when you stick to the call of the question, you save yourself the stress of rushing through the last question, because it's always the last question that suffers. So stick to the call of the question. Don't resist any outside temptation to discuss something that is not relevant, and then you move on.
Amanda, I think a lot of this comes out of insecurity, doesn't it? This fear that if I don't write everything, then I can't pass an essay.
Yeah, I think so. And I've worked with a lot of students this past week on that. And also, I think how exams are written in law school, like how your final exams are, haven't quite caught up to the UBE and how it's reflected now. And if you think about it, you have a lot of professors who've been teaching for 40, 50, 60 years, and they're still looking for issue spotting when you're in law school. But the exam has changed considerably, even in the last 10 years, 12 years, because when I took the bar, and I like to think I'm not that old, the UBE was only in one state, right? It was in New Hampshire. And all the state bars were administering their own exams. And I think, Jackson, you've even said it used to be, you get an essay question and you could regurgitate some stuff, put some stuff out, and you said some stuff, and that's great, right? Like, just throw it out there and see what sticks. It's not really like that now. And so your training in law school maybe hasn't caught up, depending on what school you went to. So you're very much, that's your comfort, right? IRAC and looking for all the issues. And if I don't do that, I'm not going to pass my exam, right? I'm trying to impress my professor. I'm trying to show them how much I know. But that's not what the examiners are looking for. And I completely echo what Bobka said. In fact, in a lot of students that I've reviewed this week, I saw them doing that. I said, you put this in here and it doesn't address question one at all. And then you ran out of time. And they told me ran out of time. So we see it in practice, and you have to be secure that you can write succinctly, get your point across, and do those conflict pairs. I think when you set up those conflict pairs, like Tracy, you were saying, it really shows your grader, wow, Shatika knows what's going on here, right? June knows what's going on here. Peter really knows what's going on here. Look, they got the conflict there. It's A versus B, and this is a law each side is going to use. And then you flush out your analysis, but it sets your reader up to say, they got it. This examiner has really got it.
I'll just wrap this up by saying after 30 years and tens of thousands of students, the FLA writing system works. I understand it's not what you're hearing in the big box bar review, because what they're doing basically is saying, just do what you did in law school because it's easier that way. We're trying to change what you're doing. And if you're a repeat bar taker, why in the world wouldn't you do that? But this is not a hypothetical approach to writing. It's not an untested approach to writing. It is an approach that is highly successful. When we were at boot camp, we had several speakers who all said the same thing independently. I thought it was fascinating. They hadn't heard each other, and they all got up, all three of our guest speakers, and said, trust the process. You've got to trust the process here. It works. And this is why we put up the interviews with successful students. It's why we use former students as some of our group coaches. You just have to understand that over the years, I'm not good at a lot of things, but I'm very good at this. And I have developed a writing system that works. And you don't need to modify that or change it or try to overdo it. There's no need for that. I love the question. I'm glad that this student was self-aware and recognized that they were behaving or writing this way or having this fear. And I hope we've addressed that concern. Interesting question to come up. Tracy, you wanted to talk about mind mapping, but a little differently than what I think people are maybe thinking about. Let me flip it over to you and give you the floor here for a minute.
Okay. All right. Let's look at a different type of mind map. It's out in the public domain for educational or motivational purposes. Feel free to take a screenshot of it. This is something I ran across in my other types of work and thought it would be very helpful for you to have and to refer to. Maybe print it out and put it on your computer or on your refrigerator or on the front of your notebook and just look at it and meditate on it for a few minutes before you start your work. I always start my work with a moment of embodied silence. And this is a really good way for you to be silent and then to look at this and realize the things that are out of your control as well as the things that are in your control. I've talked to you before about setting your boundaries. 50 days to the exam is the time to set boundaries. Setting boundaries and gently but firmly with friends, with family, with employers, with yourself. When am I going to study? Am I going to be true to my study schedule? When am I going to rest and exercise? And will I eat well? And where are the times that I'm going to work ahead? And where are the times that I'm going to go back and review? Those are all setting boundaries and all very important. Your thoughts and actions are in your control, but I realize that our brains sometimes go wild on that. And this is a matter of practice to make your thoughts and actions be something that you control and not something that control you. The goals you set, we talked this whole hour about time management, about classes and tools that you can take within this program to help you meet the goals that you're setting. What you give your energy to. Are you going to give your energy to worry? Are you going to give your energy to what other people are saying or the naysaying that they present to you? I don't know why you're doing this. You've already taken this bar 3 or 4 times. You're never going to pass this. Why are you giving energy to those kinds of statements? So you can make a choice about surrounding yourself now with people who are positive, your cheerleaders, and not people who are your naysayers. And this other part, I love how I speak to myself. Think about it for a minute. Would you ever talk to a friend the way you allow yourself to talk to yourself? Would you ever call your friends the names that you call yourself? Need to change that paradigm and start being your own cheerleader. Start being the hero of your own story by speaking to yourself in loving and positive terms. How you handle challenges is all part of how you keep things like this in your control. You can't control the past. Okay, you didn't pass before. Okay, that's in the past. You can't control the future. You can't control the actions of others or what they say or their opinions. What happens around you is out of your control. What other people think of you is out of your control. The outcome of your efforts isn't up to you. All you can do is put your best effort in, and then it's up to others what the outcome is. And how others take care of themselves can be instructive for you, but it doesn't have to create stress for you. Just because someone in the class says, yeah, I go out and I run 5 miles every morning, and then I run 10 miles every night. And you're thinking, oh crap, how am I supposed to do that? That's not me. And then you start self-judging. Let other people take care of themselves the way they need to take. So this is another mind map that you can put together and use. And when I saw it, I just said, oh, I need to bring this to the students because this is really a great way to visualize it.
Yeah, thanks. I agree. I think it is. I want to focus on that outcome of my efforts piece, because this is a big part for bar takers. They get obsessed with how the scoring is done or what the examiners are doing or how that's going to work out. My advice has always been, you just go to the exam, do your best work, and then it's up to the examiners to decide the outcome of those efforts. That's not in your control for sure. And when you spend an inordinate amount of your energy being worried about the outcome, you're really missing out on the thing you can control, which is your own thoughts and actions, what you give energy to, how you handle this part of the process. And I find it's very distracting to people. When Tracy showed it to me, I just loved it. I thought that this really identifies exactly what's going on. We'll probably use it at boot camp as well. But this is something that you can use as you're focused at this 50-day point to think about where you want to put your energy, right? You want to put it into the things you can control. Would you agree?
I would. And if you look at this and you think about it for a minute, there's a whole lot more in your control than you may think. Because this is a time when you think, oh my gosh, this is just going so fast and I can't control anything that's happening. Okay, take a look at this. What can I work on? What can I control? And what can I let go? And that's part of boundary setting. You can see that they're all jigsaw pieces and they fit together, but there's also a clear boundary around these things. So it's not amorphous. And it's something you can master.
Well, great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I think we've covered a lot of ground here today. I'm excited. Babka, it was great to see you. Thank you for being with us. Very exciting when we get you out of court for an hour or so. Amanda, it's great to see you. I know you're busy with coaching and working and all those things. Brianna will be back with us soon. She's doing her coaching as well. And June, good to see you. Thank you for being here. We will be back next Wednesday. Thanks everybody for being here. I hope all of you who are here live with us today have a great study week. If you're watching this on replay, same wishes to you. If you're listening to our podcast or watching it, we encourage you to check out the resources at celebrationbarreview.com. It's not too late to sign up and get into our course for July. And of course, we do have students now studying for February 2024, and we would really love to have you in our course if that's your plan coming up for the next year. So with that, I'm going to say thank you and have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.